Welcome to Pound for Pound ATL, arguably the best place to get facts and opinions on your Atlanta Falcons. And absolutely the best place to get your opinions in. The conversation starts now.
What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back again with another Pound for Pound ATL Live. Joined this time, as always, by my main man, Toby D. What's going on, Toby? How are you, sir?
Nothing but this cold weather that we got going on, and it's supposed to get even colder over the weekend. You know I'm not doing anything Friday or Saturday. I'm staying my behind in the house.
That's it. Also
Jonathan,
joining.
what's going on?
How's it going? How's it going, everyone? Sorry, I had something pop up on my screen. I was like, no, I don't know what you are. You need to go away. It was bad timing, but no, doing great. Excited for the future, and we'll see how it goes.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, as we are all here together to talk about the game that transpired on Sunday, and it wasn't great. You got swept by the Saints, which is not great, not awesome, especially after all three of us predicted that we were going to win. Like all three of us, and so they did a real good job of making us look like fools on that one. Ironically enough, you spend the last few weeks getting next to nothing out of your passing game, so you make the switch, you hurt Mariota's feelings, and he leaves the team, and you put in your rookie, and you pretty much get the same kind of production out of your rookie, which I don't know. We're going to get into who that says more about, but I think for Ridder's first outing, it was not the greatest situation. Like, I really look at that after that Carolina game. You had that 10-day stretch there, and then you had 2 home games, back to back. To me, that would have been the ideal time, to have a 2 home game stretch with your rookie, try to jumpstart the offense that way. Obviously, they didn't. They waited. They were still in contention, and they waited until the bye week to finally make the switch. But you go on the road in a hostile environment, like the most hostile one that you go into, really. And you start in your rookie. You're down Kyle Pitts. You basically only have one receiving option, which is Drake London, and we'll get into all that as this show goes on. But man, he completed 50% of his passes. What were y'all expecting to see? I guess let me start with you, Toby. What's your assessment to begin with?
I wasn't expecting to see much anything. I did see the things that was talked about during our show, talking about Ridder when we was all three together, that I wanted to see if that chemistry between him and London was real. That was confirmed. I wanted to see him hit the running backs because that's something he was good at doing in college. That was confirmed. We saw a live arm.
Right.
He does have a live arm, and that was evident. And I think that's what they wanted to showcase to us, the fans, to show us that he does have an arm that could challenge a defense. Once we can get more weapons in there and an offensive line in front of him, I think he's going to be fine. But I didn't have a lot of lofty expectations for him coming in. I just wanted to see how he would handle the stress of dealing with that Saints crowd, and he didn't do too bad in my opinion.
No, he didn't make any horrible off base throws. He didn't make any what I would call what are you doing type decisions. For the most part, he played within structure of the play design. Like I said, again, we'll get into all this as we go, but I was encouraged by a few things. John, what's your initial thought?
What I was hoping we wouldn't see the early jitters. You sometimes see that where a guy comes in first start, maybe kind of gets through that a little bit easier, but unfortunately, coach didn't make that the easiest thing. Wasn't a fan of how that game started as far as the play selection for your rookie in his first NFL start.
Right.
But I did enjoy watching as the game goes along. Now, this is not necessarily reflected in the stats. You're not necessarily going to see that. Yes, he was 50%. You go past the first two series where he starts out 0 for 4 or something. It's either 0 for 4, 0 for 3, 1 for 4, something like that. But I think it was 0 for 4. And then you go the rest of the game. You take that part away, and the rest of the game when he starts to settle down, you could see him getting better throughout the game, and you could see him making better decisions. And as I was listening to the radio call, I could hear Archers talk about the same things where it's like he's not trusting what his eyes are showing him, and so he's not pulling the trigger as soon as he sees it. He sees something, and then he is either hesitant because he doesn't want to make a mistake, or it's just for whatever reason it's just not clicking to allow him to just pull the string on it. And so, but you start to see that better and better as that game went along. He definitely felt like he was in command of the huddle. Didn't seem like it was too much of a burden on him. And I honestly think, like, watching the very end of that game when we go forward on that fourth down, and but that last series, obviously before the very last series, but the last series, I think that if Drake just holds on to that ball, I honestly think there's a good chance that we go down the field and we score and either tie or win that game.
Yep.
But we're never going to know. But
yeah, I mean, we can what if until the cows come home. Well, one thing I know for certain is Woon Carter just tipped us $5, which we appreciate. We give him a little bit of an air horn there. And he says, "Rise up, Pound family." He says, "I agree with everything you guys are saying." I think for the most part, the vast majority of us, like, we knew what we were going to get. Yeah. Like, yes, you could have wanted, a resounding, showing. I did just on Monday kind of did like a little cursory research, just kind of looked at some first starts of like a few different quarterbacks. Like the first time they stepped foot on the field, Brady only threw for like 50 yards, his first game that he ever started. Jalen Hurts, which is like the darling of the NFL right now, his first start, oddly enough, was a lot like Ridder's situation. Now, granted, I think Wentz got hurt. I don't think he got benched. But, he comes in the last 4 or 5 games of the season with Philly and, hasn't released a job since, obviously. But, like his first start, he only threw for like 167 yards, had a few more attempts than Ridder. But it was like, on par, right? So I would like to have seen him, eclipse over 100 plus yards. But the one aspect that I was kind of concerned about, yes, we all know that he's athletic and that he's mobile, but Mariota was giving you a lot of yardage on the ground, from the quarterback position, like each and every game, which was aiding in the run game. So I wondered if like the balance was going to shift, more towards passing versus running in yardage wise, but Ridder was still able to give you like 63 plus yards, ahead, and like looked pretty good doing it. It wasn't like the jitters and escaping, like the happy feet and escaping too soon. It was the full on, like, there's nobody open, I'm going to get what I can get. Like, like legitimately, like you could watch him go through his progressions and nobody's open. Now I'm going to take off and run. Which is more what we wanted to see, which is more what we were asking for. There were a time or two where he actually hung in the pocket long enough for Drake London to come open on one of those crossers, one of those in-breaking slants. I think I posted it on Twitter this morning. That was one of the things that we were just asking Mariota to do, just hang in there for a little bit longer before you take off and run. And
the problem with Mariota though was like, and I when I was talking about it earlier, I was talking about Des, seeing something and not quite pulling the trigger, or pulling the trigger a little too late earlier in the game, and he got a little bit better with that as the game went along. And I think that's something you'll see better and better, is that the anticipation,
Right.
trusting what his eyes tell him and seeing it quicker, and that stuff will start to process quicker.
Right.
I think the problem is we saw Mariota either only ever throw the late stuff or just like see it and never throw it.
And never pull the trigger on it.
Never pull the
Right.
trigger. He was so risk averse that he didn't want to put us into a bad position to the point where he didn't try to make the play.
It became a detriment.
You don't want hero ball. You don't want it to go. You don't want it to go crazy. But
it's that fine line in between. Like,
yeah, sometimes you got to take that risk.
Right. You don't want the ultra conservative, but you also don't want, Brett Favre in the sense of, gunslinger, like true, true gunslingers. So
you want the good Josh Allen, not the bad Josh Allen. It's like I'm trying to throw it 70 yards down the field every single time for a big play. You want the guys like, I want 70 yards, but if it's not there and I got the 5 yards, let me take that. And the 70-yard will come. That downfield stuff will come if you are killing people on the shorter stuff. They're going to have to come up, and then you beat them over the top. But I wasn't a fan of that early play calling, and I think that that skews things a little bit.
I think it does. Well, like I said, we'll continue to get into that, but I think that leads into maybe everybody's favorite segment that should be sponsored but isn't. It's our ballers and fallers. This week brought to you by brought to you by my cup. Rise up there. Anyway, so this week's ballers and fallers. Now, there was a rookie who did put on a career performance thus far. And our baller, obviously, I'm talking about Tyler Algier. But it really kind of makes me go back to almost like the first Saints game. The first Saints game, Algier sat out, right? And I really feel like granted, you had Damon Williams at the time, which is no longer on the team, right?
Right.
So you had him at the time as your number 2, but Algier has really cemented himself, honestly, as the number 1.
Yeah.
Like, he has shown you week in and week out that he's the type of back that Arthur Smith wants for his system.
Yeah.
Because the whole concept is like, I'm going to run this stuff down your throat. I'm going to run it, make you suck up, and then try to hit you over the top. Right? Like, that's the game plan. It reminds me of something that a buddy of mine that I go to church with reminded me of, that line from Remember the Titans when he says, it's like Novocaine. It works, all the time, every time. It's slow, but it works, right? Anyway, so Algier rushes for what, 139 or 136?
139.
139. Rushes for 139 yards, a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion. Like, Saints wouldn't want to tackle that dude.
Nope, especially late in the game. Late in the game, when he got his or just late in the game in general, like, he was ripping off like stuff that when you initially see it, you're like, oh, that's a couple yards, and then it turns out it's a 4, 5, 6 yard carry because guys just couldn't bring him down initially.
Right. Yep.
Now it was awesome to see.
Yeah, it sucks that RB2 went down and Caleb Huntley.
Yep.
And I know y'all probably wondered, why aren't you like talking about Cordell Patterson? I consider him just an offensive weapon. Like, you use him where you need him, right?
Yeah.
So I really feel like the Falcons have got them a good one in Tyler Algier. Now the question is, with his running style, how long is he going to be a good one? But then again, like, Frank Gore ran for what, 20 years?
Yep.
He almost played with his son, who's in
who
just ran for 300 yards in his bowl game.
Yeah, and honestly, and I know that Algier this year, Algier and Huntley together, along with Patterson, have. And I see this pop up all the time in Twitter. People are like, either mad about it or championing it. Of like, let's go pick Bijan Robinson.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like, I like him. He's a good back. Do I think that's something, even in a BPA scenario,
that's going to be the question, right? Well,
again, it all depends on what goes on in free agency.
I'll say this, and Toby, I definitely want to get your opinion on this for sure. Like if we keep moving up the draft board, you ain't gonna have to worry about picking Bijan. Like, because if you're really going BPA, it's gonna be a Miles Murphy or a Will Anderson, or if they do entertain the idea of a QB. Because the thing right now, we're sitting at 7 with the possibility of getting the highest 3. So I don't think we got to worry too much about Bijan.
Yeah, but I honestly don't think we're going to lose to, like, if things continue and Lamar doesn't show and Duvernay, if neither one of those guys plays this weekend.
Well, Duvernay's on IR now.
Oh, he went on IR today?
Yeah, they put him on IR today.
Oh, last I saw he wasn't out at practice with a foot injury that they feared was significant. I guess it is significant now.
Yeah, they put him on IR, and then J.K. Dobbins didn't practice today either.
Oh, so
I mean they could be like but even with that being said, they still got an extremely tough defense. But anyway, back to the segment, man. You're messing up my segment, John.
I do. That's my thing, man. I do tangents.
I know you do. I know. I've known you for too long. I know you do tangents. Toby, give me your thoughts on Tyler Algier, my man.
He the man. I mean, you're seeing his confidence really show now. Where he was timid, hitting the holes, come week 4, and he had to hurry up and do something because he saw Huntley doing his thing. Now, man, since CP84 has come back, this man has shown that he deserves the rock, and he needs to keep the rock all the way through the rest of the season, man, because and this is something I talked about before the season started about these first downs, and we talked about this, how many first downs he got while he was in college, and now you're starting to see that Tyler Algier shine where he's keeping the chains moving, and that's what you're asking for, and then he's getting chunks at the same time, so once he starts adding more touchdowns into that mix, oh man, he's going to be something to be, reckoned with.
Doctor, I am not reading that name. I'm going to call him Dr. Slick, okay? I think that's anonymous. I think I recognize the picture. I think he's going to change his name. Anyway, Algier is almost one tackle away from blowing the lid on any given play that game.
Yeah.
I agree, but I just like my only deal there is like I just don't think Algier's got that top end speed or that long speed. There are too many times where I've seen him where he looks like the way he's running is like he's trying to get more out of it. It almost looks like he pulls a hammy. He doesn't, but that's there's been 1 or 2 times I'm like, oh crap, did he just? Okay, no, he didn't. Okay, he's just trying to get every ounce of speed out of him. He just doesn't have that long speed, but he's got the physicality that you want. Like CDX for life says, got a couple runs on 25, very very mad. He does run very angry. He is looking to punish people. Okay, good. Anonymous says, yes, I changed my name. You two changed it to a bunch of letters and numbers. Okay. Well, I'm going to continue to call you Anonymous is what I'm going to call you. But now let's go on to our faller for a minute. And our faller right now is Drew Dahlman. Okay. I'm so tired of seeing a dude getting run over and getting deposited back into the lap of the quarterback or, basically bowling the ball back to the quarterback. Like I've said it before already, and I'll say it again. I can hear the head coach that I worked with, Coach Williams, yelling at our center, first things first, you got to snap the ball. If you can't get the ball back to the quarterback, the play is like the rhythm of the play is off from the jump. If Ridder's having to bend down and pick that thing up off the ground, it's it messes up the timing, in my opinion. What are y'all's thoughts there?
I would say like what I said before the show started. I think a lot of that has to do with where your offensive line is right now. So, you're trying to get the ball back there because they must get off that line of scrimmage real fast because they're not a good offensive line. So when you're in pass plays, you're trying to snap that ball as quick as you can and get it back there to the quarterback. Yeah, some of his snaps, a lot of his snaps have been low this year. But I don't think that's anything that can't be worked on. I mean, and I think next year he should be the starting center again. I think if you build some pieces around him where they don't have to rush snapping the ball so quickly, then he'll have more opportunity to get better in that area. Now they may go out and seek to find a veteran, which I don't understand why they didn't do that this year. But anyway, they may seek to find a veteran to compete with him for that starting spot and see what happens. But I'm not really harping on him too much until I see them actually build a line there that I can really judge him a little bit more on. And Caleb McGarry, I'm sorry guys, you better not re-sign this guy back next year.
I don't know. Hey, look now, I was checking it out. When we were looking at Dahlman, Dahlman's already gotten what I say earlier, like 33 blown blocks on the season, which was the grand total that McGarry had last year. Okay. But your boy McGarry, he's only got 19 blown blocks so far this year. He's cut his blocks down, the blown blocks down dramatically.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll see how that goes. Now, I will say this: I am ultimately concerned about any guy who finally puts it together in their contract year.
We've seen it,
right? Like that's a big red flag to me.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I think McGarry is going to be a guy that I think that when he's, because I think we've seen it over the last few weeks. The wins haven't been there, but like the offensive line, run blocking especially, but even in the pass blocking sets has been better. McGarry has been one of the highlights the last few weeks. This was a bad game, and it wasn't even that bad a game, but it was, it wasn't one of his better games.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like the ballers and fallers, like Dahlman has been consistently bad. The problem is like, yeah, we can say let's build the offensive line around it, but I mean we've got three. I honestly think we like 3 out of the 5 bodies we have right now are good. Some of them are really good. I think
I'm gonna say, Lindstrom is probably the best right guard in the league right now.
Right. So Lindstrom's best, at least per PFF, whatever weight you give that.
Right.
Yeah. Whatever weight you give that, he grades out with them as the best, the highest graded guard just in general in the NFL. But I would still, regardless of what PFF says, I think he's one of the better guards in the league. And he still gets beat and he still misses blocks and all that stuff. I think Matthews is going to be fine. He's going to be there. Obviously, we paid him. McGarry, right. I think he is good enough. I don't think he's like an elite right tackle. Well, I think he's good enough for the most part. I think him and Lindstrom do play well together, especially in the run game. But the problem is like that left guard, which I think is probably next year going to be, unless we see somebody else, it's going to probably be Edoga.
But see, you got to think like with the left guard, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong on this, but Wilkerson, this was his first game back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm willing to give Wilkerson, because he was playing well before he got hurt. So I'm willing to give Wilkerson a chance to see if he can get back, to what he was playing with before. Quick message from our friends out of your Falcon Mind. He says, "Evening, boys. Got to catch the show tomorrow, but wanted to wish you guys a Merry Christmas and rise up."
Merry Christmas.
That's right. We want to wish everybody we're coming up on the holiday season. And like complete shout out to y'all. We eclipsed over 5,300 subscribers the other day, so y'all are amazing on that one, which is awesome. We very much appreciate that. That was a nice little Christmas gift, a little early Christmas present there. But yes, we hope every one of y'all have an amazing holiday. Whether it's no matter what you celebrate, I just hope that y'all are happy and warm and with your families, So
absolutely.
All right, so let's jump into chat for a few minutes. We've had a real good opening salvo, but there's been some good questions popping up and comments. let's see. CD says, if the Falcons do go QB, I hope it's Anthony Richardson. He said, just so we can have AK-47 and AR-15. Dude, like if you're already going to go with a project, just stick with the project you got. I'll put it that way. I like Richardson. I think he has a lot of talent. I think he has a lot of raw talent. But he's a good 2-3 years off. Like, I don't know. I think
Easy.
it's yeah. But anyway, let's see. Willie Doc says, fellas, should have been Fallas should have been any play involving Felipe Franks. I'm telling you, Franks has a picture of Arthur Smith doing cocaine off a hooker's butt or something. Because why that man still has a roster spot and is getting in games is beyond me. I just don't see or understand the fascination of using.
I just hope we don't see him next year. With the now this year, I can kind of understand it. He's a guy that potentially gives you some versatility as far as being a backup quarterback, not a very good one. Okay, but a tight end, not a very good one. A blocker,
he gives you nothing. Every time he's on the field, it's a negative play.
He's okay as a blocker. But no,
I think he's even messed up blocking before. I'm
sure he has. But
look, man, there is.
But I'll say, like, in this particular year, cash-strapped year, I can see where a guy with his potential, with his athletic ability, regardless of what we think of him as a player on the field, the guy is an athletic player. So, like, the opportunity there on the cheap, because we can't afford anything else, and that's what, when Toby was like, well, I don't know why we didn't look at veteran centers, and I was like, to get a good one, it's going to be that money that we don't have. And so I give him a pass on the Franks. Now Franks is here next year with $80 to $100 million in cap space.
Should be no reason.
There should be no reason.
Look, right now,
practice squad.
You just got John Fitzpatrick or whatever, the tight end that we drafted out of Georgia. Like, he just started practicing again, right?
Yep.
So at this point, I'd much rather see him get like fully activated and, put back on roster and let him play the last 3 games in Franks' spot, because Franks is a waste of roster and space on this football field.
Which is crazy. I remember when back during training camp, they were like, this guy catches everything thrown his way. Like,
he was.
And we saw it. Me and Toby saw it.
Yeah, he was. That's what made me feel like he was going to make the roster, which he did. But then he gets in the games, and none of that shows up.
None of it. Now, Nick is alluding to, he says, we did sign a linebacker. We signed David Anai, I think is his name, is how to say his last name.
Yeah, David Anina. I did a profile on him out of Houston, and he's got some raw abilities, but they are abilities that can be shaped. So I like that signing. If we're able to hold on to him and develop him, I think he would be a great fit. He's somebody that I hope the Falcons would have drafted in the 5th round, had we, got him or whatever. But now he's on there, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, there was somebody who was let's see, hold on, I'm trying to get back up to the. Yeah, okay. So Nick also added stop playing zone or get a pass rush. Okay, I think you're playing zone because that's the kind of basically the kind of people you got. But obviously, then Charles followed it up with they did sign a pass rush outside linebacker, Anai. So hopefully, because right now, outside of Arnold Ebiketie, you don't have a consistent pass rush. Like
Lorenzo Carter's a little bit better. He's not obviously he's not an elite one. But he gives you some pass rush.
He does, and he had I think a half sack, where him and Grady and Ebiketie all converged.
I was just looking at that stat too.
Right, but anyway, so but with Carter, Carter gives you. He's a guy I want to bring back. Like, I don't want people to think that I'm not high on Carter. I just. Like the things they do with Carter isn't just line them up and rush all the time. Like your consistent rush comes from Ebiketie. Carter a lot of times is, dropping out into coverage and aiding in on those like Sims and creepers looks that we get. But I kind of agree with Tony right here. He says D'Angelo Malone needs more playing time to show what he can do. I'm interested. I'm wondering if like Malone is the Richie Grant this year, like using him sparingly and bringing him along. And I'm pretty sure if Carter does end up pricing himself out of Atlanta, not that we don't have the money, but it just may be more than what we want to give him, right? That I think they're grooming Malone to take that kind of role.
Right.
Because a lot of times when Malone is in, he's doing a lot of the stuff that Carter does. Let's see. Dave says he's been putting in a lot of nice comments for us today. He says, think part of the plan is to let these draft picks play the next few games. At this point, you might as well, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to ask you, like what, and that's exactly what I think this is with the elevation essentially in the depth chart, at least of Anderson to starter.
Right.
And now Walker is the rotation guy.
Which is interesting.
I'm
go
glad
ahead,
that came up, but no,
go ahead.
I was just about to say that. Let's start off first of all. Rashaan Evans is playing he's playing out his mind right now.
Oh yeah, I think he's back next year. I think he wants to stay here.
But Michael Walker is slowly becoming what people were saying he was at the beginning of the season, not that good, and you're starting to see it. I hate to say that, but he's where he started off excelling early on. Teams are starting to see that they can pick on him now, and they are picking on him heavily, and it's showing. I don't know if he's going to be the starter next year. I think they're going to have to go out and look and see who else they can find to hold down that spot if they bring Rashaan Evans back.
I think they do bring Rashaan Evans back. Myself, I mean, he's a P's guy, straight up and down. He excels in this system. He's playing the way you want him to play. Troy Anderson, I think once he gets a little bit more underneath his feet, maybe that's what they're trying to do with these last 4 games.
Yeah.
Last 3-4 games, let him, see some more stuff. I think he can get there. And it'll be interesting to see what they do with Walker going forward. Fred Butt says, all this negativity, we would have won the game if London hadn't funded. We would have won, and we are still only 1 game back. I get you, Fred, 100% get you on the 1 game back deal. Like our only path to the NFC South or to the playoffs is the NFC South, right? Like we aren't even being shown like in the hunt graphics anymore. So I don't think we can make it wild card wise now. So it has to be NFC South. Yeah. And you're right, still wide open, but you're going to have to win out. And you're going to have to hope the Saints and the Panthers, lose another game or 2.
What does the Saints schedule look like?
I haven't even pulled up to see who they got next myself. If you can pull it up, that would be great.
I'm looking at that right now.
Right. Let's see. Dave says, are you guys curious about the cold weather game in Baltimore? I'm glad it's them, not me. I'll tell you that. They say that I think I saw that it was going to be about 7 degrees on kickoff on Saturday. 7.
Yep.
Not 17, not 70, 7. No, sir. I tried to work one year. It was 9 degrees with a wind chill of -5. And I was framing exterior walls on a building. Okay. Yeah. That day I burnt my boots. Do you know how I burnt my boots? I'm standing on a bucket in front of a torpedo heater. I don't know if you've ever seen the big propane torpedo heaters. And I'm standing there and all of a sudden I was like, man, what's this funky smell? And I turn down and look, and both of my boots are on fire. Okay. Couldn't feel it. My toes were so daggum numb.
Yep.
Now,
Wow.
I cannot imagine at all trying to tackle somebody in 7 degrees or trying to run over somebody if I'm a running back in 7 degrees.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
You talking about hitting the ground, it's like concrete. No, dog. Marlon says it's the Browns next for the
Yeah,
Saints.
so it's Browns, then Philadelphia, then Carolina.
Right.
So I think they like that Browns defense is
You
good enough.
assume the Philadelphia is going to be a loss for them. The Browns could be a loss, and the Panthers, who knows? They've actually been playing decent ball here
Yep.
as of late.
Well, the Panthers defense has really turned it up, and if it's down to the last now, granted we could possibly be in a situation where we're out of it the last week because we have to have let's say that somehow the Saints and the Panthers both win the last 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty much done because either one of those
Right.
guys wins at the end. In that case, I'm still going to pull for the Panthers because I would rather see them win than the Saints.
Right. All right. King 7 says, don't think we should have Grant and Hawkins in the safety spot. I'd take one of them, not both. Algier, oh my God, talking about reminds me of Turner a bit, how he's aggressive. Or am I reaching? No, I mean, he does have some Turner in him. Yeah, I think I'm with you. Like, kind of like we were high on Walker at the beginning of the season. Like, I was been kind of high on Hawkins. But these last few games has been about the midway point of the season. Hawkins' play has really dropped off, and I think that's hurting Richie, to be honest. But I'll say this. Richie does look a lot more comfortable closer to the line, which oddly enough is where Hawkins looks comfortable. So, when we get into talking about free agency, I'd love for them to throw a bunch of money at Jesse Bates.
Mm-hmm.
One of the true like center fielders in the league right now. If that's the kind of coverages you're going to want to run, you need a true center fielder, and he's got that in spades. So, but we got plenty of time for all that.
Yeah.
Shane says, do you guys notice the change of offensive script? Was not the same as Mariota's script. And then he's talking about the stupid trick play with, I'm not a big fan of trick plays, but yeah, I mean, it didn't surprise me that the script looked different.
Mm-hmm.
Because they do feel like Ridder can give you some different things. When was the last time we saw Mariota attempt that sideline pass?
And I talked about this, if not last week before, but I talked about this with, I think it was last week. When it comes to Ridder and Mariota, like their 40 times are kind of similar. They're pretty close. The biggest difference between the two is Mariota's much more of a shifty guy. Mm-hmm. He's not, Mike Vick type shifty or anything like that, but he's much more of a guy who's likely to juke you out of your shorts than Ridder is. Ridder's much more if everybody's running man downfield and he gets a spot and goes straight line,
right?
He can do a lot of stuff that way. He can get around you. He's fast enough for that kind of stuff, but he's not the I'm gonna run and juke out to the left, juke out to the right, and he's not quite as shifty as him. So you're not going to see quite as many. We saw a little bit, very little bit, but you're not going to quite see a lot of the RPO or the run pass option.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to see a lot of that or quite as much of that as we saw with Mariota. But I think that is definitely something that can work if it's used in the right situations, and if he keeps it, occasionally, then it still has to keep people honest on it, and so you don't have to have a guy who runs it out of that 5, 6, 7 times a game. Once or twice is really all it takes, and then they have to respect it no matter what. Even if you don't get anything out of it, even if you only get 1 or 2 or 3 yards out of it, that's still something they have to respect, because if they don't, that 1 or 2 or 3 yards turns into 15, 20 yards potentially, or more.
Toby, is anything you want to add on that?
No, I was just about to say, man, let me go ahead and say this now since nobody else probably will. That can't look good on Arthur Smith. It can't look good on Arthur Smith to be swept by Dennis Allen, who is not Sean Payton. And I think he just put a lot more stress on himself going into the next year. To me, you already waited one game too long to even bring Ridder in there in the first place. And then you bring Ridder out here after a bye week. Now, we didn't even talk about this. You brought him out there after a bye week, and you can't call up anything more than what you called up to make this man feel comfortable in the game in that type of crowd that he had to deal with. This can't be good for Arthur Smith going into 2023, guys. I think he is going to have immense pressure on himself to deliver something for this fan base, for Arthur Blank. You cannot go 0-2 again for a third straight year in a row after doing it twice already in 2 seasons. It's just not going to be able to happen. And I just have to get that out there.
No, I agree.
I agree with that. The biggest problem we have right now is with the kind of offense that we run. It does require some of the our receivers to win their matchups. Like there's not quite as much scheming and what there's a little bit, but there's some teams that's all they do. They don't necessarily rely on their wide receivers to beat their man. They do different things, the scheme wise, to like help them get open and things like that. We don't maybe do that quite as much as other teams, and because of that, a team like New Orleans, who is heavy on the man coverage, they love to play it. They are a physical man coverage team. If you don't have the horses to beat that, and I honestly think we got one guy, and that's right now, and that's London. If we had Pitts and London, I think that opens things up. But right now we have London, and you saw that when we force fed him, because over or roughly half of his throws, maybe somewhat less, a little bit less than that, but like at least a third of his throws went to London, like 11 attempts. So he's the guy that was getting open. Everybody else was having issues. And so when you run into that kind of situation, I think that was the biggest problem with this game is we didn't have the horses to beat their horses. Their guys were just they're really good at man coverage. They stick to their guy.
And but that then goes to like Toby's point is like you should know that. Like like that should be so you should be scheming up more stuff. There's things that we saw them working on in training camp that I haven't seen them really roll out yet at all. And that's like the mesh concept stuff. We saw them, doing those things in camp, and doing plays that, would cause natural rubs and things of that nature. And we haven't really seen those routes deployed. And I'm not 100% sure why. I agree with, I put this quote up earlier, and I'll say it again. Anonymous is like, I'm not trying to say baby, I'm talking about Ridder. He says, but Christ, man, you got to at least make an effort to make things easier for him, talking about the play call. And I wonder how much of that is like, how much of it is, I'm not trying to like scapegoat anybody. It is really a concerning thing that we're seeing, from the play calling on the offensive side, but is the issue like London and Ragone? I think back to when they first got here and they talked about London and Ragone were the ones that would like set the table. Mm-hmm. So basically, while Smith is during the week overseeing the team and checking in and making sure everybody's, good, having what they need and all. So, putting in his 2 cents where it needed to be, like Ragone and London are the ones that are like really breaking down the film and putting together the game plan. And it's like they hand the game plan essentially to Smith, and Smith starts calling, he's the one that gets a feel for him, almost like the chef in the kitchen, right? Mm-hmm. You got the chef, and then you got the sous chefs. Sous chefs show up way early, prep all the stuff for the day, for that night. And when the chef comes in, he starts going, like he starts working. And that's like what the deals that you're getting with Ragone in London. Again, I'm not trying to shift the blame, off of Smith, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's Smith's offense. That's what he was brought here to do. Okay. Like he's succeeding in getting the run game going, but the pass game is failing miserably now.
It's horrible.
Right.
He got to figure this out real quick, Doc.
And you can't tell me that he can't. And the reason why I say that is because last year you had Pitts at over 1,000 yards when you had nobody else to throw to, right?
Yep.
And then his 2 years in as an OC in Tennessee, both A.J. Brown and Corey Coleman both went, or Corey Davis, was it Davis or Davis?
Corey Davis,
yeah. Both of them, like A.J. Brown was over 1,000 yards both years, and Davis was close to 1,000 yards, each year, right? So you can't tell me that he can't do it.
Yeah.
They just got to figure out where the disconnect is, you know? And that's what right now you could, chalk it up to QB play. And so that's why I'm willing to give it a pass even for the rest of this season, but I'm with you. Next year is put up or shut up. I ain't saying that you're going to run them out of town at the end of next year, but you go spend a whole bunch of money and you go get them guards and deep, trench plays and second wide receivers and all whatever else you're going to build this team with, right? Because you need a second wide receiver.
Yeah,
there's no doubt.
Bad.
Like OZ, Hodge, Bird, those guys ain't it. Okay? Those guys ain't it, right? So you need a second wide receiver for sure. So you go and do all this, you make all these moves, and you still coming out putting up, 150 yards passing a game. Dude, no.
Well, I'll tell you this: if we're putting up 150 yards passing a game, but we're still putting up 200 plus yards rushing, and we're winning the games, right? Because you're building out the trenches better on the defense, and by doing that, you're getting a better pass rush. By doing that, you're helping out your secondary, and your defense as a whole gets better. If that happens, I don't care what the passing yardage is. I don't care. At the end of the day, are we winning the game?
We got to score points, though.
Well, and
I get that.
I get what you're saying. And at the end of the day, if we're winning, it don't matter how we're doing it. And I get that, right?
Yeah.
But there are certain things that you can look through off the landscape of the NFL. There are certain things that make for a sustainable football team.
Yep.
And you have to be able to pass the ball. In this league, in this era, I know that Fred Butts is over here asking, could it be Arthur only cares about the run game? I don't think that's not it.
No.
Right now, it's the thing he knows he can rely on, and he knows that he's got the horses, as we were talking about earlier, to make that happen. Is Arthur Smith wanting to play ball control offense? Of course, but you have to be able to pass the ball. You have to be able to hit deep shots on not regularly enough, but that was the formula for Tennessee. It was run the ball with Derrick Henry, hit the end breakers with A.J. Brown and Corey Davis. You'd sprinkle in some stuff with some of the smaller guys, and then hit deep shots. That was the formula, and that's what he's going for here.
Yep.
You can see it in Drake London, in Kyle Pitts. You can see that's what they're trying to do. Even in the early part of the season when you had Brian Edwards and Geronimo Allison, you see what they're trying to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right now they're balling on a budget, right? Or trying to.
Yeah.
Right. Their options are limited right now with what they could do. And the hope is when that when the grocery store opens back up, it's Sunday, they've restocked everything, and they can go and pick and choose from better products. They can get the name brand instead of the generic, the Kroger brand or whoever. They
can go from great value to Boar's Head.
Exactly. So if they're able to do that and they can get the right guys in and they can get the guys that they need, and then that can actually execute both from an offensive and defensive standpoint. The thing that I want more than anything One of them we've already got, which is, and there's no guarantee that we could bring back everybody exactly the same as this year, and next year be something completely different offensively. We saw that with the Colts. Like last year, that Colts offensive line, pretty much the same guys. Like, was one of the best offensive lines, period, in the NFL. Matt Ryan comes in, and all of a sudden it's not a situation where all of a sudden that O-line was doing all the same things. It was just Matt Ryan was taking too long and holding on to the ball. No, they just flat stink this year for some reason. Don't know if a coach changed somewhere, whatever.
Who knows?
So there's no guarantee next year this same running game that we have right now will translate into next year. The hope is that it does, right? No matter what. So the hope is we go from this year we build up the running game. The running game gets to, like, this is one of the best running games in the NFL right now. And if we can translate, and if we can get close to it, we don't have to be exactly what we are now, but if we can get close to that next year with Ridder, with a full offseason, working with his targets, Drake London and whoever else we bring in, get everybody in the offseason workouts, the new draft picks, whatever, and you get all of that stuff going so that this is now everything he does with all the reps that come with that and all the timing that gets built with that. That's the hope next year. And I hope it works. I really, really want it to work so bad, but I want a defense. I haven't seen a good defense. We're opportunistic. We're,
I want a stout defense. I can count.
I want the Cincinnati defense. I want the Cleveland defense. I want the San Francisco defense. I want to be that.
Team. I think everybody wants the San Francisco defense.
I mean, I want to be that team that everybody's like, this is the best defense in the NFL. I want to hear that said about the Falcons one time in my life, and it hasn't happened yet.
What were you gonna say, Tony?
I mean, about that defense, man, I'm with you there, Jonathan. Man, I want to see a great defense too. I'm actually taking opportunistic out of my dictionary because I'm now about to vomit every time I hear that word,
right?
Because I'm so sick of hearing that, and that's all we've been hearing about the Falcons for so long. I want a defense that's going to just be stout up front and intimidate some people, man, and make you can't pass and throw it on them when you want
to. Speaking on that defense, Mr. CDX for Life says, do we have to pay 24 next year? Next year would be, but they'd be smart to lock him up this year.
Yeah.
In my opinion, if he is part of their long-term plan, which he should be, they'd be smart to go ahead and just, sign him up. The Anonymous says stout defense and a good running game is the best version of the Falcons.
Yeah.
Right. Like you do that by, Deron Payne, pay the man. I think everybody's on the Payne train right now for sure.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
I would definitely be like wanting that. He's top of my list. Him and Jesse Bates.
Yeah.
You give me, even if they only make 3 moves, you give me Jesse Bates, Deron Payne, and then give me a center. I'd be, pretty ecstatic with that, and then we could fill everything else through the draft. King 7 says, I agree. We need a monster next to Grady on the D line. I like how Pease works, back to front. I think you always start.
He said he doesn't like it.
Doesn't like how. Yeah, I mean that's the oh yeah. If somebody could report that spam on this,
yeah, I just saw that. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, I know, right? Look, if somebody could hit it, I don't have those controls, unfortunately. I wish this platform would give me that kind of control, but anyway, if somebody could report it and get it out of here, I would appreciate that. So anyway, Nonum says at least the Falcons have a positive record at home this year. Progression, I guess. Yeah, I mean, but they're, as you just stated, they're 1-6 on the road. So, yeah, man, this has been. I look at it like this. Something I keep trying to tell myself. When they went after Watson, they threw this season away.
Yeah,
like you know what I'm saying. When they decided that, they had the opportunity to go after Watson, and they went after it and swung and missed. that told me right then that they knew that they weren't going to make much progression this year. They're not going to tell you that.
No.
The coaches themselves definitely ain't going to tell you that.
Yeah.
But in their minds, they had to know that, right? Because you knew if you had landed Watson, then you knew you weren't going to get him until about this time of year anyway.
Right.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So you knew that you were going to be using Mariota for a bridge for the first 11, 12 games anyway. Right.
Yeah.
So to me, that told me that they are really looking. I don't know if it's going to be like chips all in kind of deal, but the rebuild really starts next year. Like what you've done these past 2 years your aggression has been to get rid of the cap.
Mm-hmm.
Is to clear
get
right.
out from under it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where your aggression has been. Right. Now, when I talked earlier about at the end of next year, if our offense is still looking crazy, like you might really start like turning up the heat on Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
But I believe if Arthur Smith goes, Fontenot stays. Because I think Fontenot has done well on his end of the bargain.
No matter what, Arthur Smith's not going to be gone unless we go spend a ton of money and we're like 0-17 next year. And maybe even then, I'm not even sure if he would. Depends on like what happened. Did like an entire busload of guys just die all of a sudden or something? You know, who knows? Some weird freak accident. But at the end of the day, like no matter what happens, he's going to be here through
23, maybe into 24.
No, he's going to be here through 23, 24, probably even 25.
Like, you think they give him that long?
I think they're going to give him at least 5 or 6 years to get out from under the cap, start bringing in like the legit guys. Like right now, they're bringing in guys who buy into the system, may not always have the talent. Some of these guys may stick around as like the glue guys, right? The Rashad Evans. I think he's kind of a glue guy. Grady is a glue guy. It was Rashad, I think, is a glue guy because he really understands. Now, whether or not he always executes it exactly like it should, I think he's the guy that really understands the defense that we're trying to run and what we're trying to do on defense, right? So I think he's kind of the glue guy for that. He may turn into he may go from starter to rotational guy within the next year or two. But you'll have, I think he sticks around. Grady sticks around. Obviously, we just signed him. And maybe some of the smaller guys like special teams aces, those guys will stick around. But then next year, you're going to start to bring in the really, hopefully, the really talented guys that can buy into your system and really execute the plan like it's supposed to. And to hopefully then pass it on to some of the younger guys we've already got, the young guys we're going to get next year, and stuff like that. So, like, I just think that what they're wanting to do is build the foundation of a consistently good franchise. And I just don't think you can do that in 3 or 4 years. I think it takes at least 5 to 6. So I think
I don't know, man. You got like Philadelphia turned it around relatively quickly. Now, granted, they had more talent.
Yeah, but they've had the talent there. It's just they were mismanaged. Once they got a guy in there that could manage the talent they already had, it's not necessarily a surprise that they're now. Is it a surprise they're as good as they are this year? Maybe a little bit. Did I think they were going to be a better team? Absolutely. I thought unless Jalen Hurts absolutely just like went off the cliff somehow, even if he played 75% of what he's playing now, I think they're still, they might have lost another couple of games here and there, but they'd still be like top of the NFC East, right up there towards the top in the NFC in general. They'd still be there because they had the talent. That defensive line and offensive line has the talent. As long as those two pieces, which I don't understand how more teams aren't just like, let's make sure those two things.
I don't know. You could be like,
good.
Well, hold on now. Like Toby, chime in here now. The Bengals, they went to the Super Bowl with the concept of Jamar Chase is down there somewhere.
Man, Look, I'm sorry, guys. I mean, I got to see the genius of Arthur Smith, and right now I have not seen that. The guy we brought over here, one big reason is because of red zone scoring. And we've had too many games this year where we've scored less than 20 points, and that is concerning to me. I don't care how much talent you got. You got to find a way to score more than 15 points on average a game. And all those games that we scored low in, guess what? And we talked about this on the last show with all three of us when we did the live. They haven't won those games.
Mm-hmm.
And so something has to change there, man, because we're not getting the genius. And maybe it is Dave Ragone and Charles London that's holding the offense back, and that we're not really going anywhere. And that'll be something that Arthur Smith will definitely have to evaluate going into next season. Woo! Willie Doc.
Lord have mercy. Willie. I gotta get my button going on here. I appreciate that. $20. He says, "Thank you so much for what y'all do for us Falcons fans. We have some of the best insight content, and you display such godly character. We have blessed in many ways in the past 3 years. Merry Christmas." Thank you. We very much appreciate that. We do what we can. Willie. You know, definitely didn't have to do that, and we appreciate it. Fred followed it up. We appreciate it, Fred, with $2. He said, "I disagree. Blank hates losing. Smith will be gone. We'll see."
Like, I mean, at minimum, it'll be 5 years. I mean, like
Quinn got 5 years. Smith before him, Mike Smith got what, 6 years or 5 years? 5 or 6 years. I can't remember.
7. He almost got 7.
He almost got 7. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Either way, well, like I said, I don't think he's gone at the end of next year.
Nah.
I do think that you get an influx in talent, especially at like wide receiver 2, area. I'd be interested to see what it really looks like with, I do hope that they give Ridder a full off season and a full year next year. Unless they get blown away with the ability to snap up like a Lamar Jackson, whether his price comes down because of the injuries or what have you. I don't know. I'm not getting into any of that, but if Baltimore does let him go, that would be the only other move I'd really like to make. Because I myself wouldn't mind just passing up on this particular QB class. They don't seem to really be blowing me out of the water per se. And, maybe take a look and see what it looks like in 24. Kind of do like a Houston deal, give Davis, like they gave Davis Mills a season, to see. And if Ridder's bad, you'll be high enough to, be in striking distance of Caleb Williams or Cade Mays or whoever, not Cade Mays, the kid from UNC. So who knows, right?
God,
I can't remember his name. But the quarterbacks come out every year.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that you've put some time into Ridder. I wouldn't mind seeing him have a full season.
And
with a chance to prove himself.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing, with everybody was wait for Stroud, wait for
Drake
Bryce.
May, that's it. Yeah.
There you go. Wait for Bryce, wait for CJ Stroud, wait for this. Mm-hmm. Now, all of a sudden, those guys are about to be available. Everybody's like,
well,
I'm not.
They both
not that impressive.
They both have shown that they have flaws.
Absolutely.
Young is composed, but he's little. You can't undo the size. You just can't, right? And Stroud, in this system, of wanting a QB to run, Stroud has shown hesitancy to do that.
Yeah.
I think that would just about take him off of Smith's list right there.
Yeah.
He had chances in that Michigan game, to pick up yardage with his legs, and he chose not to do it.
That's not who he wants to be.
Right. And I think that's not what Smith is looking for. Obviously. So
I think if we were to take a quarterback this year,
don't say it. Don't you do it. I'll mute you. I'll kick you from the I'll kick you.
Do it, Jonathan. Do it.
I think as a If they were to do it, it would probably be a Will Levis.
You did it. You made me glad I actually like you.
So it's just like, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think there's anybody out there that is like the Trevor Lawrence. There's not a Trevor Lawrence.
No, there's not a Trevor Lawrence. There's not a
Andrew Luck.
Right. There's not, to me, there's not a, like, unless the only other scenario I could see, and I'm going to throw this out there, is, just a pie in the sky type deal. If San Francisco wins a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy and you can offer them a first round pick for Trey Lance, I could see them doing that. And the only reason why I say that is because, like, it's well known that Arthur Smith was very high on Trey Lance. Like, that at Trey Lance's pro days, he pretty much ran Arthur's playbook, like at his pro day. And like, that's the reason why San Francisco had to jump us. I don't think that they were going to move up to get him, but had Trey Lance been sitting there at 4,
I think he's the guy we take.
Yeah. He'd have been in a Falcons uniform straight up. Yeah. And so, if Brock Purdy wins, because there were rumblings like Willie's saying, and I agree. He says, I don't think San Francisco is letting Trey Lance go. There's a thought process that says they gave up way too much capital to do so. But there were rumblings that they weren't necessarily like clicking in training camp and early part of the season. San Francisco's offense didn't look all that great. And, you see what happens, with somebody like a Brock Purdy who is doing exactly what Kyle Shanahan wants him to do. Not ad-libbing, not nothing. This is the play, run it this way, And so, who knows? The only two outside sources I want to see outside of Ridder is either Lamar or Trey Lance.
So yeah, we don't even have to worry. We're getting Lamar Jackson.
Now, you just gonna call your shot.
We're getting Lamar Jackson. I sense that happening for us. I don't think Baltimore or him is happy together, and I think Atlanta is going to be right there. Matter of fact, they already got the team. They already got the pen and the contract on the table. They just waiting on everything to be confirmed.
Waiting on it.
That's all.
Man,
the pen and the contract on. See, so since he can't talk to the team, they got Mike Vick talking to him because he can't get in trouble with Mike Vick talking to him.
King's over here saying, "Preach, Toby." Look, straight up, like, you want to, you can say whatever you want to. You want to invigorate this fan base? You bring in Lamar Jackson here.
Yeah.
This fan base would you be selling out tickets like crazy? Straight up,
you would.
The problem is, like, this is a guy who's bet on himself this year.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Who basically was like, had great contracts, but they weren't Deshaun Watson style contracts.
Right.
So he was like, on top of that, he's representing himself, which, like, I totally get why you want to do that. But at the same time, let somebody else take that the business side of that burden off of you, so you could focus on playing football. You can have meetings with your agent. They can explain everything, tell you what's going on. Make sure you get somebody you can trust, but do that. But at the end of the day, this guy bet on himself this year. And how many times have we seen that offense and him just disappear at the end of games, and they give up these big leads? Now, the defense is giving up the leads, but that offense isn't doing anything either. They're not moving the ball. Yeah. They're not scoring points. They're not, like, stemming the tide of these comebacks that have happened all season long. So,
yeah,
like, so it's kind of the exact opposite of what you were talking about with McGarry. It's like, oh, this guy's in a contract year. Now all of a sudden he's playing great. Do we really want to go with that? Well, this guy's in a contract year. He's looked really good, especially early in the season. First, like, handful of games looked unstoppable. Then everything just kind of, I don't know what's going on.
Well, somebody, who was it, said, Josh said, well, Lamar would finally have a number one, wide receiver, and they have, I think I saw somebody saying, like, they have, like, the worst receiving core right now in the NFL. So yeah, it would be interesting. That's the only other option I would see right now to me.
Oh yeah.
Is either, if you can get Lamar, you jump on it. If you can't, you let Ridder ride for a year.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the only guy, draftable or free agency or tradable. That is unless you want to talk about, hey, somehow we trade and get Josh Allen, but
Right.
like
But,
other guys,
that ain't happening. Like
no,
those guys ain't going nowhere. I think it's the contract that I think it's the contract that Baltimore has routinely not wanted to pay. They did the same thing with Flacco. I still don't think he goes anywhere, honestly, unless the relationship is completely soured. Which somebody was saying, who was it? It was CD. Says Ed Reed said the Ravens won't pay him what he wants. So we'll see. Like that could be like the straw that breaks the back, right? And if you weren't willing to pay Watson fully guaranteed money because of his off the field stuff, Lamar ain't got no off the field stuff. Like he is a man of character, like straight up and down.
And I'm just gonna be honest. I don't think he's hurt. Like, I think this is a matter of he found a way to just go ahead and just kind of
lay low a little bit.
Yeah, just lay low, because if he gets hurt, then he can't get the big contract. And so this is a way for him to just go ahead out the season and see what happens after that, because he doesn't want to get hurt and then don't get any chance at a big contract that he wants.
Right.
Yep.
There ain't no telling. Like, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
And I'm going to agree here with Willie on, please no Kyler Murray. I don't want him.
Oh, no. Heck no, I don't want Kyler Murray.
No.
I ain't trying to have no double XP weekend Kyler Murray up in here.
I was high on that early on, but when hearing about his attitudes and all that stuff,
he's like, he is all about
too much.
Hearing Patrick Peterson saying Kyler Murray only cares about Kyler Murray. Yeah. I'm good on that. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we hope to be so lucky that we could go from like Vic to like you had 1 year of, Redmond, then you hit with Ryan. If this is the 1 year with, subpar QB play, you know what I'm saying? Like, if we could either hit on Ridder or go right into Jackson, we would count ourselves to be extremely lucky.
Yep. To
avoid, QB purgatory, like the Browns have had, like the Jets have had, like Miami's had. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I remember the Billy Joe Tolliver days, man.
Yeah, Woo! See, I'm glad I was not a Falcon fan during somebody named Billy Joe Tolliver. What is that? What is even a Billy?
Jonathan, you had to bring that out.
What is even a Billy Joe Tolliver? I don't.
Oh my goodness!
I'm good. There was Billy Joe Tolliver. There was Bobby Hebert was here for a bit.
Oh my!
George. What was his first name? The
guy, Jeff George.
Yep. Guy had a cannon for an. He was the
Jamarcus
version of Jamarcus Russell. Literally, like the guy had.
Tolliver was from the Chargers, wasn't he?
Yeah, but
didn't Tolliver come from the Chargers?
Yep.
Nick's over here talking about Joey Harrington.
Yep, I remember that too. So that year it was Redmond, then Harrington, then Leftwich.
Byron Leftwich.
Yeah, he started like a game or two. Man, you want to talk about that guy? I think is still winding up to throw a pass today. That guy started way down at his shoe tops and brought it all the way around. Oh my God!
Yeah, like I said, if we could hit on Ridder or go right into Lamar Jackson, all day, wouldn't even complain. Gentlemen, we have hit up well over an hour. We've been in an hour and 15-minute mark, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up. Hold on. Let me get to our candid. Bam! There's the ticker. Everybody loves the ticker. All right. Let's see. There it is. Okay. So as always, y'all can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grim1128. GRIMM1128. Toby.
Guys, I apologize. I hadn't been on in a while, but you follow me. I do be looking on them from time to time. Toby D, 1991.
Jonathan, you want to throw yours out there?
Jonathan M. Holder.
There you go. Keep an eye on the channel. I know we're rolling into a holiday weekend, but I'm going to try to put up something on, Thursday or Friday, and y'all seem to enjoy that prediction short, so maybe we'll throw up another one. But as always, Falcons fans, we appreciate y'all, and rise up.
Rise up.
Rise up, baby.